LaVelle, this is a highly entertaining and interesting team at an interesting juncture of the season. Let's get into Brooks Lee, Pablo Lopez, Matt Wallner, David Festa, Jose Miranda, all the things that have happened the last couple of weeks and that we're looking forward to here as baseball heads towards the All-Star break. This is Chin Music. This is our baseball show at TalkNorth.com. He's LaVelle Neal from the Star Tribune. I'm Jim Souhan from the Star Tribune. Davide Rosso is our producer. We may be joined by Roy later in the show. If not, Roy will be catching up with y'all next week. We appreciate everyone who listens. The best way to listen to this show is to subscribe to your favorite podcast app. It's free. It's the easiest way to listen. It's also great for us because we can build listenership that way. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studio, and we want to thank your boat club, Minnesota Masonic Charities, Twill in the Edina Galleria, and True Vision Institute. All right, LaVelle, we'll get to Miranda, who made history, but the guy I am most intrigued by at this moment is Brooks Lee, who, like Royce Lewis, a recent high draft pick by the Twins, who shows up in the major leagues and looks like he was born to be a major league ball player.
Isn't that incredible? Isn't it incredible to see what he's doing right now? He looks so calm at the plate. He looks calm like Joe Mauer. And I'm sorry if I'm getting too overboard with that, but he looks like he can slow the game down when he's in the box. And Mauer was the best player I've ever seen do that. And the swing is short. It's sweet. It's short to the ball, a little bit of a long follow through, and there's nothing wrong with that. Ken Herbeck made a career out of swinging like that. But he hit the ball all fields. He doesn't look overwhelmed. You know, I mean, we can't totally get excited because we saw what happened when Julian and Wallner came up last year and thrived right away. And I think pitchers made adjustments. So we got to see if Brooks is going to make an adjustment and how long will it take before teams start to dial in on him and figure out a way to get him out. But right now, it's been fantastic. Both sides of the plate, showing power, hitting the ball off fields, great temperament. You know, son of a college baseball coach doesn't hurt at all. But man, I'm sitting here thinking about what's this offense going to look like when Royce Lewis gets back in the lineup. You know, you got him, Lee, a surging Byron Buxton, and Carlos Correa having one of the best offensive seasons of his career. Those four guys fueling the lineup, there are not be any holes. Someone's going to bat seventh or eighth because the lamp's too deep. And pitchers are not going to get to a part of that batting order and go, okay, I got three guys that can get out here. No, every third of the batting order is going to have someone who can hurt them. And that is advantage Twins.
No doubt. And I'll get into Julian and Wallner here. I think Brooks Lee's different in that I think his balance, the fact he doesn't rely on timing, you know, and that his mechanics are so simple, his swing is so simple, there are just fewer things that go wrong. Julian, we loved what he did last year, but he also took a lot of called third strikes, and he got behind a lot in the count. You wondered how that would play out. True. Wallner had great success, but we also saw him striding toward the plate, and you knew that pitchers would be able to figure out a way to combat his extending his arms if he kept striding toward the plate. He had to change that, and now it looks like he has changed that. Julian is still trying to change his approach. Brooks Lee will never have to change that approach. That swing, that bounce. Hitters who rely on timing are going to go into long slumps, like we see that with Buxton all the time.
Right.
Brooks Lee doesn't rely on timing. His swing is just almost textbook.
That's true. That's very true. And I agree with you on all those parts. I think his general comportment in the box helps him very well. My thing is, what's going to happen when a pitcher says, all right, slider down and in, he's got trouble with, or changeups down and away, he's got trouble with. And they'll start pounding that quadrant of the bat of the box, trying to get him out. But to your point, since Lee is so quiet at the plate and he doesn't rely on timing, he may be able to figure out a way to make adjustments to those pitches. So, man, it's been really exhilarating watching him hit. I think when he gets in the batter's box, he's going to get a hit every time. I do. And he does have all the equipment, as some of that you pointed out, where this could be sustainable. He could be a guy who's going to hit 280 to 320 every year and driving runs and be a catalyst. So I'm really curious to see how this progresses.
Sidebar to Brooks Lee coming up. He hits his first major league home run, and he expected to get the silent treatment when he came back to the dugout. I'm just so glad we are past the point in baseball where veterans think that rookie hazing is somehow good for your team. Why would you treat someone who's trying to help you win games as if they're an outcast, as if they, need to be treated like an indentured servant? It was always stupid. And I'm so glad we're past that. That's one of those old school baseball things that I will never miss.
Yeah, a lot of things have changed since you and I started covering baseball, man,
yes.
in the 90s. And that's one of them. It was almost like, it was part of the rite of passage for kids to get the silent treatment when they hit the first home run. Now they're giving him the Prince hat and letting him pose with Royce in the dugout after home runs. That has totally changed. That's right up there with the rookie hazing in September where they all had to wear the weird costumes.
Which was stupid too.
Yeah. Now it's more of an all-inclusive thing now. Everybody dresses up in a certain way, or they all wear like football jerseys. They all dress up as characters and whatever comedy you want to come up with. So, things have changed. It's for the better. And you're right. Well, I also think Carlos Correa means a lot in that regard. I think he does a great job of making everybody feel that they're a part of this thing, that no one's walking on eggshells, that anyone has a chance to contribute to a winning team. I noticed when Lee got hit with a pitch yesterday, Correa was out there with the trainer and Rocco to check on him. That wouldn't happen back in the day. So, in fact, I think even the manager wouldn't come out. Rocco comes out for everyone. So this is an evolution, a more horizontal method of building team unity. So it's good to see.
I agree completely. All right, let's get to some history here. Jose Miranda, 12 straight hits, fourth player in Major League Baseball history to do it. First Twin to do it. A stunning achievement. I don't even know what to say about the guy. 12 hits and 12 at-bats for a guy who was organizational depth just a few months ago. What has happened with this guy?
It's been amazing. Jim just drives home the point about every player develops at different paces. Some guys thrive right away. Some guys struggle and need to see what it takes to become a major leaguer and a successful, productive major leaguer and go and work on those things. We got so fired up about the future of the Twins offense last year because of Julian and Warner. And this year, they got pitched tougher. We saw this happen with Kirilloff and Larnach. Those guys proved that they can hit a fastball, and they became the league leaders in seeing off-speed stuff. And they've been trying to make adjustments ever since. Although Larnach looks like he's made some strides toward dealing with that. Miranda, I was just looking at Miranda's minor league numbers going, this guy should be able to hit in the majors. He doesn't strike out a lot. He draws an acceptable number of walks, and he hits for some pop. I just figured that it was going to show up sooner or later. But with everything that transpired last year, Royce Lewis showing up and being Mr. Grand Slam, it was like the Royce Lewis train had just passed Miranda on the tracks. So, but Miranda, to his credit, he didn't get defeatist about it. He was like, I got to figure out a way to get in the majors. He was the best hitter on the island when the Twins drafted him out of Puerto Rico, and it's starting to show now. And the thing about the streak, Jim, is that they weren't cheapies. They were all line drives. They were all
bullets.
home runs. They were rockets. And I'm going to argue that he got in base 13 straight times because he got hit by a pitch in the middle of that run. I want to argue that it should be 13 for 13. But this has been delightful to watch, and that's another component to this lineup. When you look at the Twins lineup, you start looking at OPSs and weighted runs and everything. You're like, holy moly, look at this squad. Because you got like 5 or 6 guys who are hitting very well right now. Even Jeffers, who's kind of middling, still has a 800 OPS. My goodness, this has become a fun team to watch at the plate.
No doubt about it. And let's talk about the hitting coach. Let's also talk about the trade deadline and talk about what this future infield could look like. First, though, again, we're coming through the Aquarius Home Services studio, and we want to thank your boat club. Great time to be on a boat.
Got the winter blues? Start planning your summer. Plan on fun and get out in the water with your boat club. Your Boat Club offers boat club memberships and daily rentals with access to over 40 bodies of water and over 400 brand new boats to enjoy. Whether you want to cruise on a pontoon, create waves in a speedboat, or reel in a big one on a fishing boat, your Boat Club has got you covered. Unlimited boating memberships are available now, starting at just $1.99 a month after a one-time initiation. Life is better on the water. Find out more today at yourboatclub.com.
We also admire the work that Minnesota Masonic Charities does.
When people think of the Freemasons, they often think of secret handshakes and unusual hats, and of course, the pancake breakfast. Minnesota Masonic Charities would prefer that you think about the work that they do right here in our community. Places like the Masonic Cancer Center at the University of Minnesota or the Masonic Children's Hospital and the Masonic Home in Bloomington. They are just a few examples of the important work that the Freemasons support here in Minnesota. As part of the largest fraternal organization in the world, Masons have consistently answered the call when it comes to charitable needs. We look forward to learning so much more about their many programs here in the weeks to come.
So interesting. James Rowson was here. They set a record for home runs. And everybody loved James Rowson. Big personality, gregarious, fun, available, accessible. Now, for the last calendar year, this group of Twins hitting coaches, David Popkin being the head hitting coach,
Derek Chauvin,
seems to have done some really good work, but he's just not, he's not the kind of person who's like easy to get to. He doesn't have quite the same buoyant personality Rowson has, but should he be getting about the same amount of credit at this point?
Well, I've always believed that good players make coaches look good. I keep going back to the hitting coach for the Royals when they had Johnny Damon and Mike Sweeney and Jermaine Dye. He got credit for being a great hitting coach. But when the Royals couldn't hang on to those guys and let them go, the replacements weren't any good. He got released like within 2 years. So I think his talent to work with is an important factor in that. But also, how long has this guy been a hitting coach in the majors? I think he has grown into the job. I think he has learned. And I'll tell you this, Jim, I talked to someone in the organization in spring training, and, they were telling me there was times where, he was coming to the ballpark at like 10 a.m. before a 7 p.m. game just to try to prepare and look at film and try to figure out things because the Twins were hitting. He was feeling the heat a little bit. And, they had to tell him, relax, man. Don't wind yourself up like this. Just work smartly. Don't think you have to work harder. Just work smartly, and it'll hopefully eventually come. And it has with this guy. I think Popson's benefited from having some talented players. Royce Lewis, first round pick. Joe Buxton, first round pick. Correa, first round pick. Brooks Lee, first round pick. It helps that he's got some high end guys to work with. But obviously, there's been some evolution about how he goes about his business. And also, once again, I hate to bring in unofficial part owner, unofficial general manager, official shortstop, Carlos Correa. But, the players have taken more on themselves as well in terms of sharing information, discussing hitting reports with each other and drilling down on pitchers. So the hitting coach deserves credit. But I also think it's been more of a holistic approach to this thing. Sure.
And Correa does seem to be in the middle of absolutely everything.
Can I tell you a story right quick?
Yeah.
June 8th, I took my brother, his birthday is in June. So every June I take him on a Twins road trip, and I've still done it since I'm off the beat. So we went to Pittsburgh for the series against the Pirates. And I went into the clubhouse on June 8th, and they were struggling. And I was talking to someone in the clubhouse, and they were like, LaVelle, if it wasn't for a 13-7 stretch, we'd have like a bottom 5 offense in the league. And at the time, the Twins couldn't hit the floor if they tried to fall on it, From that date, they came out the next day and scored 11 runs. Since June 9th, Jim, the Twins are batting 308 as a team with an 884 OPS. And I believe they led the majors in slugging percentage in the month of June. It's been a remarkable run.
No doubt. It's been stunning. And you and I both know the hitting coach usually gets a lot of blame when things aren't going well and usually gets very little credit when things are going well because the hitters are out there doing it all. But he seems to have found a way to help people come back from slumps. He seems to have found a way to at least be a positive influence on this lineup.
The other thing too, I feel bad about this. I can't remember the hitting coach's name at AAA for the Saints, but the guys have gone down and have gotten fixed.
Yep.
You know, Wallner. It took a while for Wallner because I ran into Corey Koski in town like 2-3 months ago, and he was like, Wallner's like locking himself up all the time because he's stepping toward the plate. You know,
we all knew it.
Yeah, exactly.
Sean Schlechter is the hitting coach.
Sean Schlechter. And so eventually, of course, I'm not a major leaguer. I guess sometimes it takes a while to make a mechanical adjustment and get the muscle memory going to where you do it consistently. But he has stopped doing that now. He is striding toward the pitcher instead of toward the plate. He's able to turn up some pitches. He's able to get his extension going. He's able to pound inside pitches more. Miranda went down there, obviously figured some things out. You know, Royce Lewis came up from here and was ranking, so he probably heard some good things there. So I'm waiting to see if when Julian gets in line here and figures some things out, you know. And that's what actually I'm thinking about Colin. One of the fascinating things about baseball is how a player reacts when he gets sent down and what the role of the manager is in terms of mentally trying to get him, you know, aligned and the coaching staff trying to get him fixed. So we've seen that here. And, you know, credit may also go to the hitting coaches, you know, in the minor leagues too, for spotting flaws or taking directions from the major league squad and applying it to how they get these guys turned around.
Okay, I want to talk about the trade deadline and what a future Twins infield might look like. First, though, I want to let you know that went into Twill recently and had the best shopping experience of my life. I got everything I wanted. It all fits me perfectly. It took me about 10 minutes. If I hadn't been in a hurry, I would have lingered and talked more and enjoyed the experience. But I was in a hurry this one day, in and out 10 minutes. What you should know about Twill in the Edina Galleria, Twill by Scott Dayton, is they just started their summer clearance sale. 40% off seasonal items. This place doesn't have many sales. It's not a discount shop. They sell stuff that they expect to last you the rest of your life. So if the sales are relatively rare, you should take advantage of them. I highly recommend Peter Millar, Johnny O, Brax. Those are the things I wear the most around town. And it's fantastic stuff. It's not going to wear out on you. It's not going to be something you need to replace in a year or two. It's stuff that fits perfectly. So check it out. Go to twillmn.com. Sign up for their email list. They will not spam you. They'll just tell you about events like this. And 40% off stuff at Twill. You're basically getting incredibly high-end stuff at discount prices. I highly recommend it. Twill in the Edina Galleria, twillmn.com. Also want you to hear what John Krasinski's experience with True Vision Institute is like.
Yeah, True Vision Institute in Bloomington. I was there earlier this week to get a consultation for LASIK surgery. Found out I'm a great candidate for it, and super easy to set up an appointment. Go in there. They run you through a bunch of tests. Their people are very nice, and they will give you a straight up and honest answer for your options for your vision correction. And I'm looking forward to having LASIK at True Vision once the playoffs are over. So go to truevision.com to set up your appointment, and you won't be disappointed at all. Great people at True Vision.
All right, so all of a sudden now you got Royce Lewis, who's a star when he's healthy. You have Brooks Lee, who looks like he's going to be a star. You have Correa, who's a star. You have Jose Miranda, who just made history. There's still hope that Julian can be a player for you. Willie Castro can play around the infield. Karloff is still in the organization. What is the future? What does the future infield for the Twins look like?
I think in spring training, I don't think it's changed much from what their view was in spring training. Royce Lewis at third, Correa at short, Brooks Lee at second, and Julian at first. I think that's what the infield in the near future is what they're envisioning. Of course, Julian's got to come through on his end and hit his way back into the majors for that to happen. And I think if you look at that infield, you've got at least you have the left side of the infield are two great athletes. They're going to have ground, they're going to have range, they're going to have arm, and that's fantastic. Brooks Lee is I think he's at least an above average defensive player himself. Julian, he's had to work on defense at second, but moving to first might be the best role for him. And who knows? Sometimes when you move a player to a different position where he's more comfortable at, it shows up offensively, especially if you're getting guys from behind the plate. There's been so many former catchers that have moved to the infield or other positions that have thrived. So maybe Julian will feel better going from second to first. So, and I like that infield. It's got power. It's got ability to hit for contact, speed, range. It's got everything, and that is going to be exciting to see take place here. What was the other thing you asked about again?
I think you covered it. I think it's just really interesting that, basically they've got, if you look at Luis Correa, Lee, Miranda, Julian, and Castro, and that's if Kirilloff doesn't come back, and that's, if Carlos Santana is just on a one-year deal, which he probably is. They just have so many options. I just think what you're going to see with this franchise is that DH spot is always going to be left open for either Buxton getting off his feet for a day or one of their extra infielders being a DH. They are not going to need a traditional DH the way things are going. And
here's the thing. They should lock up Willie Castro. They should sign Willie Castro to a multi-year contract right now. He has made himself into an everyday player, and he is what Rocco referred to when they signed Marwin Gonzalez as a everyday multi-positional player. He didn't want to say super utility guy. He came up with his own phrase, and that's fine. In my career, Willie Castro has become Tony Phillips to me. I would want to say that he's become Biff Roberts, but I covered Biff Roberts when he was in Kansas City, and he was hurt so much that our joke was that BIP was an acronym for body and pain. But Willie Castro is one of those guys who looks like he can play every day and play well wherever you put him at and hit and steal bases. And I think he's a guy that Rocco has envisioned. Marwin Gonzalez, had some pop. He came from Houston, won a World Series. It just didn't translate when he joined the Twins. But this guy is someone that probably would be willing to sign for maybe $5, $6, $7 million a year for 4 years. And you got a guy you can rely on to be healthy, fast, reliable, and can hit it for a little pop here. I hadn't checked WAR lately, but he was second on the team in WAR. He had 2.9 WAR like a couple weeks ago. So you talking about Willie Castro on pace to have like a 5 WAR season? That's all-star level stuff. And I was going to advocate that Willie Castro should be on an all-star team just for what he's done so far this season. Yeah, Castro has become just a very good major league player. He's a plus defender at several spots. He's phenomenal. And, the way Rocco manages right now, he can put so many people at so many different positions. It allows him to platoon and pinch hit mid-game. It's really opened things up for him. And this all leads into also discussion for maybe our last topic today about the trade deadline. You have Emma Rodriguez coming. You got Walker Jenkins, who's the top prospect in the game. Yep. 2 great hitting prospects on the way. You already have Brooks Lee and an overload of offensive players in the majors right now. When Royce Lewis comes back, you have more players than you have positions. Does that mean that this is the time to trade Kepler or to trade a prospect? The talk was earlier in the season that Wallner would be a candidate to be moved. I like Wallner. I think he's Joey Gallo with more contact, and he could throw 100 miles an hour out of the outfield. I want that guy to be my right fielder, going forward here. But he was mentioned as a trade candidate. I wrote a column a couple weeks ago saying that this is the time for the Twins to get what they can for Kepler. He's run out of his contract. They're not going to bring him back. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to get a lot for him, but there's a couple teams I think can use some outfield help. The Braves can use an outfielder. I think the Phillies have some outfield issues. I think the Braves just released Eddie Rosario, oddly enough. So there's teams out there that can probably use an outfielder, and Kepler is rated high defensively, and he does have the ability to get hot and have a 2-week stretch where he can be the fulcrum of the offense. So I'm not saying they need to get like some high-powered player in return, but they can get something and maybe get a guy who's not on the 40-man roster to free up a spot for someone else. So yes, I think they should move Kepler for the deadline. I hope they hold on to Wallner, but if they need Wallner to get some starting pitching depth, which is not his strength right now, then they should definitely go for that as well. You mentioned all these great position players. There's one pitcher that I really want to see up here. I don't know if he's quite ready yet, but they got a kid at Double-A named Zebby Matthews. And during the first 60 innings of the season, He's hitting 96, 97 on the gun. He walked like 3 guys through like the first 60 innings of the season. And I'm like, I want to see this guy. I'm intrigued. And if he's doing well in Double-A, that usually means you have a chance to be in the majors. Derek Falvey's had a hard time getting pitchers through the system into the majors. And, so he's taking some criticism because he's supposed to be like this pitching savant guy. But he's run into a lot of issues a lot of teams run into as far as in order to get 3 good starting pitching prospects, you probably need to start out with 10 or 12. And that has happened on his watch. But with David Festa breaking through and Zebby Matthews doing what he's doing at Double-A, there's some light at the end of the tunnel. But my goodness, you want to be a pitcher in the Twin system right now, considering what they have offensively at the majors and close to the majors.
Well, Matthews' numbers are very good. They were good at High A. They're good at Wichita right now. They were good in Fort Myers. He's been pretty good his last 3 stops in the Twins minor league system. He's an interesting guy.
Absolutely. I'm looking at it right now. 6 walks in 55 innings. He's 2-1 with a 2.77. 195 ERA. Holy moly. He's having a fantastic year. And, like I said, once you succeed at a Double-A level, you're probably going to make the majors. And I'm just curious to see what this guy can do. I know I think he throws like 4 pitches as well. So I like him a little more than I like Festa. The thing with David Festa was like, 1, too many pitches over the plate. That could be corrected. He has to come up and see how he's going to get hit and see if he can make adjustments. But his fastball looks straight to me. And he needs to either figure out a way to cut it, to sink it, to run it, and get some movement there. That's going to help him out. Because I just saw a bunch of straight fastballs. 1, 2, over the too many center cut fastballs that are going to get hit in the major leagues. But there's talent there, and he just probably needed to get some experience. And now he's going to go back and work on some things. Hopefully, be better in the long run. And I want Zebby up here. I want to see him in September, actually, with the numbers he's putting up right now.
Yeah, no, that's a good poll. That's a good name. Festa, I liked his stuff. I just thought he lost his command when he came under pressure, which is sometimes, once again, Brooks Lee and Royce Lewis are the aberrations. Most players do deal with nerves and difficulty matching expectations when they first come up. It's just the way it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, prospects develop at different paces, man. Some guys figure it out quickly. Some guys, need to go down for a little bit. Torrey Hunter became a perennial all-star, and he struggled, early in his career. And I remember when I was on the beat, they were like, man, if Torrey could just hit 250, he could play like 12 years in the majors. Or Torrey ended up hitting better than 250 and figuring out how to hit a curveball and how to study pitchers and how to be prepared. Ended up having a much longer career than that and being multiple all-star games, multiple gold gloves. But sometimes it just doesn't click for everyone right away. And so that's the thing about development that we have to understand. You come up here, you see a guy struggle, it's like, oh, he's not going to hit in the majors anymore. But he can come back in a year and rake. And we're seeing some of that now, some of the Twins guys. And hopefully you'll see Julian make the adjustment as well and come up and be a productive hitter.
Yeah, Torrey's a great example of that. Another great example, Justin Morneau developed into not only one of the best hitters in the big leagues, but one of the smartest hitters I've ever been around. And I've been around a lot of great hitters. And he got sent up and down like 4 or 5 times before it clicked for him. And I remember talking to a good former major league hitter behind the batting cage in the Metrodome while Morneau was taking a terrible round of batting practice. And the guy turned to me and said, "This guy's never going to get it." Media aren't the only people who give up on players. Players give up on players too. And Morneau ended up being, a great player who might have had a Hall of Fame profile had he stayed healthy.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Another guy, it's weird that the Twins have had these issues, but, the M&M boys both had concussion issues and it changed their career. Mm-hmm. Maurer went to first base. He wasn't the same hitter. Morneau went from being a guy who thrived in RBI situations, loved hitting for power, loved driving in runs, loved being in the middle of the order and being that guy they can rely on to be a run producer, to a guy who was just trying to get hits. I know he won a batting title with Colorado, but I spoke with him after that. I was like, did you view that as coming full circle, considering you had to bounce back from the concussion? He says, no. He said, because I became the player I didn't want to become. I want to be the guy who can be relied on to drive and runs. I want to be a guy who's just hitting to get on base. So even though he won a batting title, he was not happy about the player he'd become because of the concussion.
All right, well, this is going to be an interesting race. I'm out of town for a couple of weeks, so Roy and LaVelle will be handling the show for the next couple of weeks. For today, I want to thank Davide Rosso, our producer. I want to thank Aquarius Home Services and all of our sponsors. We appreciate it. Thanks to LaVelle, and they'll be talking to you next week.